Good afternoon and welcome to the Educate Workforce webinar. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to begin by introducing the panelists today. My name is Jenny Moore. I'm actually with Clemson Online and work as the Director of Program and Partnership Development. I partner with CA2VES a good bit on projects associated with instructional design, including these webinars and some other educational our curriculum that we're developing currently.
Good afternoon. My name is Trey King. I'm the lead systems administrator for Educate Workforce. I handle all of the server and storage infrastructure that EducateWorkforce.com runs on.
Hi, I'm Zach Trabukis. I'm lead programmer for Educate Workforce CA2VES. I'm responsible for upgrading the online learning platform and extending it.
So today in this webinar, we're going to work through some major components, including digital learning, educational technology, and our support protocol. The first section that we're going to be going into, we're going to deal specifically with the definition of Educate Workforce, provide you with a listing of our current course offerings, and go through kind of our course design overview and basic workflow. In the second section, educational technology, you're actually going to see a more in-depth look at the edX platform itself, including the LMS and CMS, and then the insights that we use for analytics. And then again, we'll finish up with some support protocol information about what we do so that we can provide you with best practices that we've discovered along the way. There's basically 4 pillars of workforce development that we work through in CA2VES and the Center of Workforce Development that include digital learning, career pathways for college affordability and graduation improvement, K-12 STEM education initiatives, research advocacy and networking. And what you'll find is if you look at the other webinars that we have in this webinar series, there will be topics associated with each of these 4 pillars, but today we're going to focus specifically on digital learning.
So today we'll be discussing the Educate Workforce platform, which is the primary tool we use to deliver high quality online educational content. So what exactly is Educate Workforce and how do we use it? In short, Educate Workforce is a versatile online education platform that is tailored to two-year institutions and industry partners. At Educate Workforce, we focus on technician education for advanced manufacturing industries. We can achieve this through a variety of ways, which include free sample modules for individual use, custom class sections for course instructors, as well as customized subsites where we develop, deploy, and maintain a tailored and branded instance of Educate Workforce for industry partners and academic institutions. For example, we partner with several school districts in North Carolina to provide a custom front end to Educate Workforce that gives each institution a custom URL that allows access to their own branded and tailored learning management system. Next, we'll talk a little bit about what we offer on Educate Workforce.
So as Trey mentioned, we have courses served from the manufacturing safety, quality in manufacturing, manufacturing process production, manufacturing maintenance, all the way to basic electricity. And then we have soft skills courses. We have soft skills and we have workforce fundamentals. And so the top 4 you see on your screen deal with a manufacturing skills standards council exam. So those were kind of the initial courses we started. So I'll give you guys a second to complete that poll.
You might be asking yourself, how do we tailor Educate Workforce courses to meet the unique needs of two-year institutions and industry partners? And in order to accomplish this, we make sure that student learning and performance remain our central focus. And we try to base as much as possible the curriculum and the underlying learning theories and our workflow around this central focus at all times. It's really easy to allow technology to guide the development process, but we did our best to ensure that the tested and proven learning theories that we used to develop our curriculum was really what guided the integration of technology so that the tech tools were more valuable to the learning experience for the student. Our underlying learning theory, as we mentioned, is really important to us and to every component of not just curriculum development, but also the development and customization of the platform, which we'll talk more about in detail in the second part of this webinar. But it was important to us that we provided at least kind of the basic details of what that learning theory is. We use universal design for learning, which focuses specifically on three main networks of the brain and pieces of learning. So the affective network, which deals with the why of learning, the recognition network that deals with the what of learning, and the strategic network, which deals with the how of learning. So what we're going to do is we're going to take apart each of those three principles and show you some basic examples of how we've applied these to the curriculum and the development of EducateWorkforce. So with the affective network, we want to awaken and stimulate interest and motivation. So we focused on providing multiple means of engagement through practice activities and assessments that are interactive, authentic, and allow for self-reflection and self-evaluation. And you can see that in the examples through this video, including the milling machine and the virtual reality, and also the EPUB, which is very interactive and also helped us to scaffold the learning process with robust introductions, summaries that provide students with opportunities to connect new knowledge to prior knowledge and, of course, track their own progress. The second network, the recognition network, which again deals with the what of learning, helps to engage students with multiple formats, including our ebook, which you see on the left, and again, the EPUB, which you see on the right. And also through our video lectures, which in this case, the instructor is using the light board, which allows him to engage students even more. And finally, we meet this principle through our virtual reality, the practice activities, and the formal assessments. And it's really important to us that we make every single one of these resources align with web accessibility standards for maximum accessibility for students. And then finally, we try to engage the strategic network, which deals with the how of learning, by providing multiple means of action and expression. So we want to give them options: drag and drop, short answer, the traditional true, false, multiple choice, fill in the blank, even as far as essay questions, and then of course, drop down questions as well. And with the practice activities, they get to see what they did wrong and go back and try again before they ever have to go to a formal assessment, which would count toward their final grade. And again, you get that engagement, that ability. If you've got somebody that's better at expressing what they know through action, then that virtual reality is really going to speak to that piece in that particular learning style. So I mentioned before, all of this really informed the workflow that we developed and felt was absolutely necessary, because obviously there's a lot of moving pieces involved in going from, deciding on a platform to then transforming that platform into a robust, engaging learning environment like EducateWorkforce. So we developed a workflow to ensure maximum efficiency and the quality of resulting product in the end. And that became very much a iterative, but also cyclical 5-phase process that included planning, where we need to identify the platform, and we do so based on an analysis of industry needs and student needs for improving technician education. We use that information as well in the second phase, where we partner with the developers, web developers, but also the instructional designers to customize the platform, which yielded what we now have as EducateWorkforce. And then we get into the content development process, utilizing those UDL principles and student needs as a central focus. And as the customization of EducateWorkforce takes place, the developers help us form templates for instructional designers to use that not only help them stay focused on what content needs to be created, but provide a vehicle for easy sharing for subject matter experts to review the content and provide feedback, and then for developers to upload that content easily into the EducateWorkforce platform. And then during the development process, we practice iterative review to make sure that the quality is at maximum. And we put every piece of EducateWorkforce through this process prior to release. Before we move on to the next section, we would like to open up the floor to any questions that you might have that we can answer for you. We're also going to provide another poll just to kind of review what we've been through so far. So you should see that pop up. Okay, so we're going to take the first question. What is the greatest challenge of determining courses to include in EducateWorkforce? As far as what we've experienced so far, the greatest challenge is just getting enough information to make a cumulative decision that really meets the needs of industry and technician education. So reaching out to the right individuals and collecting the right data to really make an informed decision.
From a technical standpoint, the software that we use is open source, so it's a matter of standing up that instance. And there was a challenge in that, but working with the support team, they've been pretty good. The open source developers have.
And if you think of another question related to that first section, please feel free to go ahead and type it into Q&A. And even if we move on, we'll still get to it later on in the presentation. We'll also leave this poll open for a little bit. All right, so moving on to the next section.
All right, so we're going to go over an overview of the platform that we use and the tools. Within EducateWorkforce, we use a variety of tools to develop, deploy, and maintain our online learning platform to reduce cost and maximize our engagement with each of our users. Specifically, we chose the open source platform OpenEdX to serve as the platform for online course delivery. Since OpenEdX is a free and open source product, we are able to modify and extend the platform so that we can provide a tailored and branded experience for each of our users. OpenEdX is also backed by a large developer community in which all users all over the world provide support and share their experiences with OpenEdX. This is a great tool that allows us to report and solve problems with the platform by receiving feedback from a variety of users who have had similar issues with the platform. OpenEdX also provides great online resources, including online documentation, chat, and mailing list to help the developers get directly in touch with people who can help them the most.
Okay, so we're going to focus on our learning management system, and this is the front end for the students. So we're going to get four items for navigation: dashboard, course introduction, module sections, and then performance. So we're logging in the system now. I'm just using a demo account here. And the first thing we're going to look at is our dashboard. So we're going back to this kind of structure here, looking at our dashboard. And so this is where you'll see your enrolled courses, and you just click on one to go forth. And so now we're going to go into that course. We're going to look at a course introduction and overview. So this is the course overview page where we have about the course objectives, where the material, who was it developed for, any kind of suggested reading, how to navigate the course. And so the first thing that the overview section has is a pre-course survey to kind of get you acquainted to the material you're going to be studying. And then we go into the course introduction. This is more kind of overview from an instructor standpoint. We have a course overview video from the instructor. And so the student's able to click on closed captions and then traverse the video. Okay, now we're going to look at a course outline, where you can look at what we're offering. And so you can expand a section, and then you can expand all sections if you need to. So now we're going to look at modules and sections. So this is what a module on the left looks like. We have module introduction, the actual course content, 1.1 to 1.3, module summary, and a module assessment. It's kind of our structure. So we're going to look at the module introduction now, connecting to knowledge, goal, objectives, oriented questions. Then we're going to look at the actual heart of the module. We're looking at the module sections. And so we have a module section content page. We have objectives for that, where you can then click on an ebook for further reading. And then we have the actual delivery of the contents through a video, where we have closed captions included. And Jenny mentioned the light word for the instructor. We have summary key terms, and you click on a key term like ARM. You can look at the ebook for that to find where it's located. And then you can click on a glossary to find the definition. So now we're going to look at the some sections include simulations. So this is kind of instructions for that. And we're looking at one of our weight and balance course, identifying aircraft terminology. So you're stepping through the instructions for that virtual simulation. So we're identifying parts of the aircraft. And then there's an associated drag and drop to help you make sure that you learned those terms. So we have activities that generally follow the content, and they allow for multiple submission attempts. And so we're just answering a problem here. And we're going to verify if it's right, and then show answer it to see what the answers are. So we have a module summary that follows the content, where we have key concepts, we have key terms, further study, and then attributions. At the end of a module, we have a module assessment. They allow for a limited number of submission attempts. So we have a 10-question quiz, followed by, so they can save their answers, and then they can check them when they prefer. And then we have like an open response, more of a critical thinking type of question. So then now the student has to self-grade their open response. And now we're going to look at review and progress. So after the course, after they've gone through all the modules, we're going to look at an exam. So an exam consists of true and false questions. Followed by multiple choice questions. Followed by the student can look at their progress. So the grading pass is 50%, and they can roll over, see how they performed in a given module. Some courses offer certificates where the student can request a certificate if they passed, and then they'll have a digital certificate where they can use the QR code for verification, or an employer could use a QR code for verification saying that they completed the course. Okay, so now we're going to look at our way we manage content. Some improvements we did were course components specifically for EducateWorkforce, and then a template course. So we're going to log in a CMS. So we're going to look at how we create a page for EducateWorkforce. So these are kind of managing where we pick a course to manage, and then we're going to add a module section on. So I'll go to module 4, and we're going to add 4.7. So I'm dragging that up to the location I want it to be. We're going to rename that module section. We're going to start creating the page itself. This is just showing you that they have default empty templates where you can put your own HTML code in. And it's just showing what you get when you have a default empty template. And so that wasn't useful, so we're deleting that. And we created these EducateWorkforce templates that have preloaded HTML. And so we're going to add a video header here, which has objectives and a link to an ebook, followed by a video. And then we have a module video summary and key term section we're going to add on the end there. So when we're ready to push that page out, we'll publish it, and then we can view live on the LMS page. This is where the students view the actual course content, and you can see that kind of page in live. So we're going to go back and further edit the page, the video header, and so this is how you just edit right away. So I'll update some objectives that we have here for this module section. We're going to update a link to an ebook. So this saves the developers time. We don't have to, kind of gives a consistent look, and that's what these were for. And so this is showing you how easy it was to see our results on the front page. So the next thing that helped us speed things up was a template course. This is where we actually use the course components inside of this template course. So we have this default course. It has 16 modules, and each module has 13 sections. And so it has an introduction, summary, and assessment section included. And I'm just showing you this is module 1. These are pages that are already built by default using those components. And so now we're going to look at module 2 just to show you that it does propagate throughout. And so when you're building a course, you maybe not need all 16 modules, so we're just going to go ahead and delete some of those to get started. So now we're going to have a 3-module course. We're going to delete the last module, and then we're going to start renaming these modules. So this is a part of a weight and balance course that we did, and so these are some of the module titles that we were using. So it's very easy for a developer to kind of come in and start modifying things. So we're renaming the module sections to continue that renaming process. And we decide here that we don't need all these sections, so we're doing the same thing. We're kind of just deleting these sections out we don't need. Okay, so then I just say continue editing. That's, you just kind of just keep editing the course until it's ready to go.
Next, we're going to talk about our course analytics system, which helps us determine how well our content is working. Our goal is to offer highly customized, engaging learning experience for everyone utilizing the platform. An important part of that experience is understanding how effective our course material is for students using the platform. This is where the product insights fills the analytics gaps and gives our instructors and course designers an in-depth analysis into how well our content is working. Within insights, we can look at a variety of measures such as student enrollment, engagement, and performance. Here's an example of the enrollment analytics that we can get out of the Insight system. Here we are taking a look at the education level of the students who are currently enrolled in the course. As you can see here, we have some folks in middle school, secondary school, and we can also look at other information about enrollment here. We can look at age, gender, how many people are currently enrolled in the course, and how much that enrollment has changed over the last week. Next, we can look at engagement. This gives us information on how engaged our students are in the course content. We can take a look at how many active students have visited a page of a given course. We can take a look at how many students have watched a video and how many students have tried to or attempted to submit an answer to a problem. We can also go a little bit further into the video analytics and take a look at the completion rate, meaning how much of a video a student has completed, whether they watched it just a couple of minutes of the video or finished it to completion. We can also take a look at how many students in general have started the video and finished the video. After we've looked at engagement, we can take a look at the student performance. Here, this gives us an idea of how well the questions are being, how correctly the questions are being answered by our students. And the main thing here is we can this helps us to identify questions that maybe are not being asked properly. We can identify if a certain problem has been answered incorrectly by a large majority of the students, then maybe we need to go back and take a look at that content. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how we provide a reliable and scalable online learning platform for our students and instructors. One of our goals at EducateWorkforce is to provide a seamless online learning platform that is reliable and scales with our growing user base. Currently, EducateWorkforce is hosted in an on-premise data center where we host and maintain all hardware that backs the EducateWorkforce.com site. This was done originally to reduce cost and allow fine-grained control over our hosting environment. As you can see, there are several working parts to Open edX that make it a complicated and in-depth platform to develop and deploy. Some of the major pieces of this application is MySQL databases, which contain user and course information. We also run Mongo database servers that contain the course content. We use YouTube for video playback. And we also utilize Amazon Web Services as a failover for certain digital content that is being delivered. For example, we run into some situations where school districts may block YouTube so that EducateWorkforce.com cannot deliver the content that way. So we fail back to Amazon to deliver that content for us. And there's also the application servers that host the front-end website for EducateWorkforce.com. So as our needs change over time, we will likely migrate EducateWorkforce to a cloud hosting provider such as Amazon AWS to provide a much more scalable environment as our computing and data needs grow with our expanding user base.
All right, so we're going to stop for just a second. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A tool within Zoom. We're going to give you just a minute. If you want to ask anything, please feel free to post your question in that forum. We're also going to launch a poll just as a little bit of review for what the content that we just went over in that section. It does look like we've got one question. Is Insights a free resource for EducateWorkforce?
Yeah, I would say yes. Our courses are available for the individual, so they can go into and log in the site. However, they wouldn't be able to see insights unless they're an instructor. So that would require a we have two forms. You can create your own course, and then you would be an instructor, or you can have your own subsite. So Trey was mentioning earlier, subsites, you would need to reach out to us to talk about pricing. And that gives you that custom front end, and it serves your courses on the site. But for the individual course, the instructor can see insights as well. But I do encourage you to reach out to us, and we can talk about pricing.
Okay, we're going to move on to the final section, where we're going to talk a little bit about the support protocol that we use for EducateWorkforce.
So we have a couple of ways that we interact with our users to provide customer support to instructors and students. The first of which is a simple help form that we provide on the EducateWorkforce.com website. This allows users to report problems, make suggestions, or ask general questions. And based on how this form is filled out by the user, that information will be automatically routed to the appropriate people within EducateWorkforce to allow us to get customer support provided as quickly as possible. And the next method of communication that we provide for customer support is email support. So we have a primary support email address for EducateWorkforce.com. It's support@EducateWorkforce.com. When users submit emails to this address, the email address that sent the support question in is automatically scanned, and then the ticket is created and generated and routed to the proper people so that we can get support as quickly as possible. For example, if a North Carolina school district student or employee emails support@EducateWorkforce.com, that ticket automatically gets flagged as a North Carolina school district question, and the correct people will get that ticket instantly on our side so that we can begin providing support. And this is just an example of what we see on our end when we get emails in to support@EducateWorkforce.com. You can see a little bit about the body of the ticket and how we see the information on our end. You can see that the problems are detailed, and you can see all of the different categories that are listed for a problem. And we see this on our end for every email that comes into support@EducateWorkforce.com.
So that concludes the Inside Educate Workforce webinar from the CA2VES webinars series. We're still here to take questions if you'd like to type something in the Q&A, and we'd be happy to answer your questions right now. But also we wanted to let you know, probably by Monday, you should receive a follow-up email that provides a link to a repository for each of our webinars. So you can actually take a look at the virtual reality webinar that we did before this, and you can look at the schedule for the remaining webinars. Additionally, you'll be able to see the recording of this webinar and have access to download the PowerPoint in case you wanted to take a closer look at the videos or the information that we provided. And then any questions that were asked during the webinar will be provided, including the answer, within this repository as well. We've gotten some other questions outside of the webinar that we'll also provide in addition to the answers as well. So you'll receive that shortly. In addition to the repository link, you'll get a link to a post-webinar survey. We'd appreciate it if you take a couple minutes to complete it. That'll let us learn a little bit about how we did and get some ideas for what you might want us to present on in the future. You'll also see that we have one more poll that's running right now. If you didn't have a chance to take a poll throughout the webinar, if you could take a minute to do this. This is basically to rate this existing webinar, the one for today, so that we can learn if it was helpful and how helpful it was for you. So we'll leave that open, and we'll leave the webinar open for a little while longer. But we want to say thank you for joining us today, and we hope that you'll join us on some of the remaining webinars from this series. Have a great day.